Hey, everybody. So excited to see you. I wanted to share with you that there's going to be some changes, right, with speaker dynamics on the room. Okay, I can't talk like this anymore. There's a reason why I was talking in that speech pattern, which is going to be part of the focus of today's episode. If you are curious, stay tuned. Hi, I'm Karin Reed. I'm a four-time author, Emmy Award-winning broadcast journalist, and communication expert on helping people to own the room, whether it be a physical one or a virtual one. Welcome to Speaker Dynamics. I am very excited to do this episode today because it's something that has been banging around in my brain for a couple of months now. So here's the premise for it. So I got a new puppy last year and hadn't had a puppy in many, many, many years. And so suddenly I felt like I had no idea what to do with the dog. And I started following this podcast. It's a puppy training podcast. And it's very well done, but it has a different approach than what I have traditionally done with my podcast. So I always talk about how I want to make sure that I provide value in 30 minutes or less. Well, this puppy training podcast provides a ton of value in about 10 minutes or less. But I found that it was so easy to consume in these bite-sized morsels that I got a lot out of it. So I thought, that's a different approach and worth considering. The second thing that happened is I started realizing that during the course of my trainings, I always kind of got the same questions. So for those of you who don't know, podcasting is not my main thing. My main thing is running Speaker Dynamics, which is a communication training firm. And as a part of that, we do a ton of workshops and webinars and some one-on-one coaching. And when I do these workshops and webinars specifically, if I'm doing the same content for them, I get often the same questions at certain points during the curriculum. And I started thinking about how those questions are very specific, targeted, and probably concerns that are shared by an awful lot of people, but I don't necessarily touch upon all of them in these episodes, but I think they're worth talking about. And so with that in mind, I wanted to combine the puppy training podcast methodology with the idea that there are similar questions that a lot of people have and answer them in these bite-sized morsels. So we are introducing today something I'm really excited about. It's going to be called Speaking Tip Spotlight. So anytime you see just me and I don't have a guest on with me for this year, I'm going to provide you hopefully what will be a ton of value in 10 minutes or less. Sometimes maybe they're going to be like 6 minutes. Sometimes they might be, 9 minutes, but I'm not going to hold myself to a certain time frame. But I promise you they're not going to go longer than 10 minutes because I think that's enough for these specific questions. So when you see me pop onto your screen or whenever you listen to me and you don't hear a guest coming on, this is what you can anticipate: a speaking tip spotlight, which will be talking about a topic that you might have a lot of interest in if you're like a lot of people who I encounter in my coaching and training practice. So I'm excited about it. I think it'll be fun to do. So the first one that I wanted to tackle is one that I alluded to in the introduction. If a lot of you are like, please, Karin, stop saying and so and so much is driving me batty. Yeah, it was driving me nuts too, even trying to perform it. And the reason why is I was filling you with what we commonly call filler words. So filler words are, if you want to get technical in communication parlance, disfluencies. There are verbal disfluencies where, we are using words that are not necessarily meaningful for our audience. So for example, a filler word is what I would call a verbal placeholder. Oftentimes we use those verbal placeholders to indicate to our audience that we have more that we want to say, but we just aren't quite sure how to say it yet. So we try to hold them down and just give a verbal pause per se to get them to not turn away because, hey, we're not ready to turn over the speaking baton yet. We still have more that we want to add. We're just not sure how to formulate the words around it. So if you are somebody who really hates filler words, join the club. Oftentimes, I hear from folks if they're listening to a speaker who is a filler word fiend, that they can't even concentrate on the content because all they're doing is listening to the ums and the uhs and the so's and the you knows and the rights. And, there are all sorts of varieties of these. And depending upon where you're from, maybe it's not but an M. It depends where you are in the globe. Regardless, if they're starting to count your filler words, that is a problem because that means they're not paying attention to your message. So I'm often asked questions about this in my workshops and in my training. And I have a couple of different things that I would like to raise your awareness about. So the first thing is record yourself. That is so illustrative. I experienced it myself when I was writing my books, and I used something that was a transcription tool that would allow me to throw my videotaped or my recorded interviews into the software, and it would pop out a transcript. And what was horrifying to me was to see all of the filler words that I used. And I thought, oh my gosh, that must be so incredibly annoying to the person I'm talking to. So I will caveat this with, if you do the recording transcription route, don't be really dismayed by what you see, because I think if you read it on paper, it's worse than what it actually sounds like to the ear. So that is actually leading me to my next point. A lot of times people will have the goal of trying to eliminate all filler words. That I don't think is a good goal, because here's the thing. Sometimes those filler words develop a certain musicality of your voice. And if you try to eliminate all of them, it's going to make you sound unnatural and affected. Now, that is not to say that you should just blow them off and just use filler words in any way, shape, and form that you want to, because that's not always the case. But there are degrees of it, obviously. But the ones that I would focus on eliminating are the ones that come between major thoughts. So we might throw in an in the middle of a sentence. That is usually not going to be picked up on by the audience because it's usually quick and it kind of links ideas and it gives you a little launching pad for your next part of your thought. The ones that become annoying are the ones that are, for example, say that you're doing a presentation between slides. You're done talking through all your content on this particular slide. You're about to click to the next slide, but you don't know how to start. So you say something like, so click, and then you lead into the content on the next slide. Those are the ones I'd probably want to focus on getting rid of first. Because consider this, a so, or any filler word of choice, can be substituted with a pause. And I have talked about the value of pause a ton on this podcast, but for those who haven't heard me talk about it a ton, pauses are so necessary for our audience because your audience needs time to digest what you have said. They need that cognitive space to listen to your message, take it in, and consider it before you move on to the next thing. So oftentimes, think about it. You've just gone through all the content on your slide rather than just plowing into the next one. You want to give them that space to go, oh, okay. That pause, that bit of silence that you create by taking out the filler word is a way to help them to do that. So take out the so in between the slides as you click from 1 to 2. The other thing I would consider is just by knowing that you might have a problem with filler words is helpful because you want to raise your awareness. Raising your awareness facilitates change. So even if you know that you use a lot of filler words, just by the very act of realizing that will help you to decrease them, and it can make you more intentional in your word choice. It's so funny because as I'm talking about this right now, I'm so cognizant of the filler words that I'm using, but I'm giving myself some grace. The other technique that I wanted to share with you before we come to the end of this is one that I learned from actually somebody else in the communication sphere, and it's kind of tricking your brain into not saying a filler word by substituting a visual instead. For example, if you are doing a virtual presentation, you know that you have a whole bunch of what I call hidden real estate that people can't see on the other side. And I use a lot of sticky notes. This is one of my sticky notes that I use because you probably are aware. So is my favorite filler word. What I like to do is to put I'm going to do it right now, up on my monitor. That's why my camera's moving around. And the idea of having your filler word on a sticky note is that rather than saying the word, you're going to look at it and mentally process it, and that will replace the verbalization of it. If you or somebody uses put it on a sticky note and stick it on your monitor. If you use right, do the same thing. It may help, it may not help, but hey, it's worth a try. So those are a couple of tips related to filler words. And this is the first speaking tip spotlight that we are going to be focusing on this year. Hopefully you found value in this 10-minute snippet that I gave you. I think I went a little bit long, so I already violated my rule. But I wanted to introduce it and let you know what the plan was for this year in the solo episodes that I do. I also wanted to raise your awareness about another way that you can incrementally improve your communication skills. And that's through Speaker Dynamics University, which is our online university that allows you to learn communication skills on your own time. It's asynchronous. And if you're curious about how it works, it is open to anyone who goes to Speaker Dynamics University. You can see what courses appeal to you, and you can purchase them and go through them. They are multi-layered, so it's not just like video tutorial, content quiz. There are different elements of it. And it's hard to explain verbally. You almost have to see it. So that's what we're going to do. So this week's bonus content will show you a demo of a typical course on Speaker Dynamics University and see if it might be appealing to you. This is something you can do as an individual, but if you are somebody who is the head of learning and development or training at your organization, you're like, this might be an interesting sort of program to offer to our employees, I would just encourage you to check out the demo and see if you think it might be a good fit. There's all sorts of different topics that are covered on Speaker Dynamics University, but if you want to check out kind of a demo of an example course, go to speakerdynamics.com/bonus content. So once again, it's speakerdynamics.com/bonus content. I'm really excited for this Speaking Spotlight, I have to get it right, Speaking Tip Spotlight series that we're going to be doing this year. If you have ideas on what you want me to cover in brief, let me know. Put it in the comments, and I'll be sure to put it on the list of topics that we will tackle in these abbreviated episodes. Have a great day, everybody. Thanks so much for listening. Thanks so much for watching. Until next time.